All right, welcome to my first attempt at a YouTube live. Jumped on a few minutes early to make sure everything looked okay on my camera and make sure I didn't have any technological glitches. So we will get started at the top of the hour. But if you're joining, you can grab a folded blanket if you've got one nearby. I've got a folding chair over here. We're going to do a variation of plow where we put our feet onto the chair. But if you'd rather not do that, you don't have a chair handy, we can just put the legs straight up into the air with the folded blanket underneath the hips, and that's another good option as well. So that's all you should need, unless you like to support yourself in butterfly pose with blocks, or we're going to do garland low squat in a bit, and if you like to sit up on a block for that pose, you can grab a block for that. But otherwise, a folded blanket and maybe a folding chair or chair of some sort should be all that you will need. And while we're waiting, if you want to go ahead and get into a comfortable seated position, we're going to sit with our feet crossed at about the middle of the shin, but you can also put your legs underneath you and sit on your heels if that's more comfortable for you. Or like I showed in last week's video, you can also cross your feet. So you've got your foot, one of your feet a little bit closer to a hip, and that helps you to kind of tilt pelvis forward. We're really in this comfortable state at the beginning, trying to get comfortable, but also try to keep the spine from rounding. So we want to sit in a way that allows us to support the lower back without a lot of effort. So folded blanket helps, and playing with those three variations helps as well. All right, so we'll just take a moment to get ready. If you'd like to, you can put your hands on your knees and allow your eyes to close. And we'll just begin to move the breath slowly in and out through the nostrils. If you're congested or it's not comfortable breathing in and out your nose, you can of course breathe in any way that's comfortable. We'll go ahead and move into the three-part breath. So we'll take one hand and place it on the belly, and the other hand and place it at your heart center. And I'll invite you, if you'd like, to close your eyes once again. And for the three-part breath, we take the inhale and move it into three distinct parts, and then we'll reverse it on the exhale. So at the beginning of the inhale, we really want to feel the breath move into the belly. So you should feel your belly rise at the very first part of the inhale. Let's just take a couple breaths. Breathe in, feel the belly expand. Breathe out, feel the belly contract. And that is the first part, the three-part breath, and we'll go ahead and add the second. So for the second part, if you want to move your hands down to your rib cage for a moment, we'll inhale first, expand the belly, and then we'll continue the inhale and feel the rib cage expand. And on the exhale, feel the rib cage lower, and then the belly retract. So inhale, feel the belly expand. Second part of the inhale, allow your rib cages to rise. On the exhale, the rib cages lower first, and then the belly. Try one more like that. And to add the third part, you can move that top hand back up to your heart center. The first part of the inhale, we breathe in through the belly, and then allow the rib cages to rise, and then you'll feel your heart center expand at the top of the breath. On the exhale, the heart center falls first, and then the rib cage, and then the belly. So allow you a couple minutes to do a few on your own, breathing in through the belly, then the rib cage, then the heart center, and then reversing it on the exhale. Rib cage falls, or the heart center, sorry, then the rib cage, then the belly. So try a couple on your own. And one more. Good. You can bring your hands to your knees and slowly allow your eyes to open. The 3-part breath is good to do any time that you feel like you need to recenter, to become calm. It requires some concentration, as you probably saw, to keep the breath moving in that pattern. So it's a good way to focus your brain if you're feeling, your mind if you're feeling anxiety or stress or agitation. It's just something to try. We'll do it again when we're in the rest pose at the end of our practice. All right, so we'll go ahead and begin to move. We'll place the right hand at our right side, left hand, we're nice and tall. Inhale and then exhale, stretch to the right. You want to try to keep smooth breath going through the whole practice, in and out through your nostrils if you can. On your next inhale, come back to center. Then exhale, lower the arm. Inhale, we'll lift the right arm, grow tall. Then exhale, stretch to the left. On your next inhale, grow tall. Back to center, and exhale, lower. Good. And then we'll do a gentle twist in our seat. So we'll take the left hand and place it on the right knee, right hand behind you. Inhale, feel your crown of your head grow tall up toward the ceiling. And exhale, twist to the right. Just a gentle twist here at the beginning. Don't go too deep. Continue to feel yourself grow tall on the inhale and move into the twist on the exhale. And one more breath. And come back to center. And now we'll place the right hand on the left knee, left hand behind you. Inhale to grow tall. Exhale to twist. And try to keep both of your sitting bones pressing into your mat or your folded blanket. And one more breath. And come back to center. Good. And we're going to come into hands and knees. You can move your blanket off to the side, or you can unfold it and put it underneath your knees, whichever you'd like. I'm going to give you two options for our cat-cow. You can stay up on your hands with hands shoulder width apart, or you can put your elbows down underneath your shoulders and put your hands out in front of you. That's what I'm going to do, but you're welcome to do either. On the inhale, we'll bring the chest forward, drop the belly, lift the chin. And exhale, pull the belly button up toward the spine, arching your back, allowing your chin to round forward. And we'll move with the breath. Inhale, pull the chest forward, dropping the belly, lifting the chin. And exhale, rounding the back, lifting the belly, rounding the shoulders. We'll do a few at your own pace. Trying to link your movements with your breath. Good. And if you're down on your forearms, we're going to come back up onto your hands, putting your hands directly underneath your shoulders, and we'll go ahead and thread the needle. So we're going to take the right arm, lift it up on an inhale, and on an exhale, put your hand behind your left hand and then move it off to the left of your mat as far as you can. Now you might just want to move a little bit and keep your shoulders off the mat, or if you'd like to drop your right shoulder down onto the mat, resting the side of your face on your mat and walking your left hand forward. You can do that as well. Continue to breathe. And one more breath here. And then bring your left hand back close to your face, straighten it, and bring both hands back under your shoulders. And then we'll inhale and lift the left arm up, and exhale, put the left hand behind the right, and move it as far to the right as you'd like. You can lower your left shoulder onto the ground if that feels okay, the left side of your face on the mat, and walk your right fingertips forward. And one more breath. And bring your right hand back. Straighten it. And then you're back on hands and knees. And from here, we're going to move into puppy pose. So we're going to walk the hands forward and allow chest to drop down onto the mat. You want to try to keep your hips directly above your knees. If this is too much, you can always put a block underneath your forehead. And I think I said to bring your chest all the way down, but it's actually your forehead. Bringing the chest down toward the mat and letting your forehead rest on the mat. And we'll take one more breath here. Good. Lift your forehead, walk your hands back underneath your shoulders, and we're going to come into child's pose. So we're going to bring the big toes together. I'm going to move my folded blanket now. The knees are about as wide as the mat, big toes together. We're going to hinge back, bringing the hips toward the heels and walk the hands forward. You're always welcome to put a blanket behind or underneath your knees or put blocks under your chest or your forehead. And now your chest can come all the way down to the mat if that's comfortable for you. get some traction in the lower back. Walk the fingertips as far forward as you can. Press all 10 of your fingers into the ground and try to lift your forearms up off the mat. Good. And come back up into hands and knees. And we're going to prepare for downward facing dog. So we'll walk the hands a little bit forward, tuck the toes, then lift the hips up and back. And you can start with your legs bent here. Or if you're feeling warmed up enough or you're pretty flexible in your hamstrings, you can allow the legs to come towards straight. So hips are pulling up and back. Heels are working toward the mat. Hands are pressing down. Fingers are spread. And you can begin to pedal the feet. So bend one leg and then the other. Get a little hamstring and calf stretch. Move slowly here. Arms might be getting a little bit tired. We're not going to stay too much longer in this pose. And then you can work both legs towards straight, or you can keep a little bend in your knees. Take 2 more breaths. And we'll walk the hands and feet together and come into a forward fold. So in your forward fold, your feet can be shoulder width apart. Legs can be a little bit bent or a lot of bit bent. And the weight is shifting into your toes. You still have your heels on the ground, but the heels are nice and light. You can shake your head side to side and up and down. That feels good on your neck. Nice deep breath. And then go ahead and engage your core muscles and slowly come up to stand. Very good. Just something on my screen here, and then we'll keep going. Hopefully, oh, there it goes. Lost my feet there for a second. Okay. So standing now, you can bring your feet close together if you'd like. Big toes can keep your feet shoulder width apart. We're just going to do some gentle standing side stretches. So we're going to lift the arms up, interlacing the hands, pulling the hands up toward the ceiling, even while keeping the shoulders moving away from the ears, and we'll gently stretch to the right. And a nice stretch to the left side. I find it a little bit more difficult to breathe deeply in some of these side bends, but try to keep the breath going. And come back to center, and then bend to the left, get a nice stretch through the right side. And then come back to center, release the hands, and slowly return your hands to your side. And we're going to come to the front of the mat. We're going to do part of a sun salutation to get back into our downward facing dog. So we're going to inhale to sweep the arms up, and exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward. On an inhale, we'll bring the hands up to the shins. Pull the crown of the head forward, create a nice long flat back. And exhale, fold forward. We're going to bend the knees, place the hands on the mat, and step back 1 foot and then the other. You're welcome to lower on to your knees if you'd like. We'll bring the arms straight back, bending, allowing the elbows to graze the side of your body, lowering all the way down to the mat. Release the toes, and we'll come into a low cobra. So all 10 toes pressing into the mat. Lift your chest, lift your chin. Hands should be nice and light here. You can even lift them if you'd like. And lower back onto the mat. You can go through bent legs like this, or if you'd like, you can tuck your toes and go through the top part of a push-up and move back into downward facing dog. From here, we'll bring the feet together and stretch the right leg straight back. And then bring your knee in toward your chest, rounding your back, planting your right foot between your fingers, and you can scoot it forward with your hands if you need to. Good. We'll take a couple breaths here in a runner's lunge. You've got your hands on either side of your feet, left toes on the ground. Engage that left thigh. Pull the heart center forward a little bit. And from here, we're going to come up into crescent or warrior one, whichever you prefer. So for crescent, we're just going to come up and keep the ball of the foot on the ground, the lower belly engaged. If you'd like to move into warrior one, you'll twist or swivel your left foot so that your left heel comes onto the ground and your left foot is at about a 45-degree angle. If you're in warrior one, this left hip is moving forward as much as it can, but it's not going to get completely in line with the right. If you're in crescent, your hips are both straight forward. Whichever you prefer, we'll take 3 deep breaths here. If this is uncomfortable on your shoulders, the hands can always be at the hips, or just bend them a little bit. That's another option. Try to keep the lower belly hugging in, so we're not putting too much of an arch on this lower back. Good. Now we'll swivel the left foot all the way onto the ground so that the left toes are pointing straight forward, right toes to the side. Arms come out to the side. We're going to move into warrior two. Turn to gaze over the right fingertips. This right knee is moving out so that it's pointing the same direction as your toes. And here, lower belly is lifted, shoulders are down. Gaze is over the right fingertips. You can adjust your stance as needed. You can work towards getting this right leg into a 90-degree angle. A couple more breaths. We'll go into reverse warrior, bringing the left arm down to the left leg, lifting the right arm up first, and then back. And then we'll circle the arms to bring them back down on either side of your right foot, coming back into that runner's lunge. We'll put your hands flat, right foot back by the left, and come back into downward facing dog. It's looking like at least on my end, my video is moving slower than I am. If that's the case for you, feel free to message me after this and I'll see if I can make adjustments for next time. All right, so feet together. This time we'll bring the left foot back, straight behind us. And then bring the left knee into the chest, round the back, and see if you can place the left foot between your hands. You can always walk it forward or use your hands for some extra support. We'll hold the runner's lunge for a moment. You can come up onto your fingertips. Engage that right thigh. Pull the collarbone forward. And from here, we'll move into either crescent or warrior one, whichever you'd like. For crescent, just come straight up, keeping the hips in line. For warrior one, right foot comes down so that the heel is flat and your foot is at about a 45-degree angle, and that right hip is moving forward. It's not going to get in line with the left, but it's moving in that direction. Good. Now we'll turn the right toes all the way to the side or to the back of the mat for me. Open the hands and move into warrior two on the left side. So left toes are facing the short side of your mat. Right toes are facing the long side of your mat. Fingertips are pulling away from each other. Gaze is over the left fingers. Left knee isn't going past the left ankle. Lower belly lifted. Shoulders moving down away from the ears. Pressing into your heels and breathing. And we'll drop the right hand down to the right leg, lift the left arm up, and begin to pull back towards the back leg and get a nice stretch through the left side. Reverse warrior. And then circle the hands back down to the mat. Come up onto your right toe and come back into that runner's lunge. And bring your left foot back to join the right, and we come back into downward facing dog. A few more breaths in downward facing dog. Again, the hips are pulling up toward the ceiling and back behind you as far as they can go, pressing into all 10 of the fingers. Allowing the heels to move down toward the ground. You might find that they get a little bit closer now that we're nice and warmed up. And more breath. And then like we did earlier, walk the hands and the feet toward one another and come into a forward fold. Again, keeping the weight moving more into the toes than the heels. You might move your head again, shaking your head yes and no. Good. And then engage your core and slowly come back up to stand. And then we'll stand with the feet about as wide as the mat, slightly turned out, and we'll come down into a low lunge. So we'll bring the hands to heart center, bend the knees, and come down as low as you can into your garland or low squat pose. And here, if you'd like to put a block or two underneath you so that you're sitting up on something, you're welcome to. You're pressing the hands together, using the elbows to open your knees, relaxing your toes, bringing the heart center forward, head in neutral spine, and as always, continuing to breathe. If the video isn't keeping up with my voice, feel free to just listen to my voice and move with the cues rather than watching. It's much more important to experience the pose in your own body than it is to try to make it look like anybody else's. And as long as you're not in any kind of pain, you're probably all right. If you do feel pain, you always want to back out or come out of the pose entirely. Good. Then we're going to move down to the ground into butterfly position. You can do that any way you'd like. I'm going to place my hands behind me and just gently rock back. And then we'll move into butterfly. So we'll bring the soles of the feet together, sit up straight and tall. If you've got blocks and you'd like to place them underneath your knees, if you feel this pose in your knees at all, I highly recommend putting something underneath your knees, even if it's just pillows or folded blankets or books. You really want to protect your knees. So inhale, grow tall, and exhale, gently fold forward. In butterfly, your feet can be closer to you or farther away, whichever you prefer. We'll do this one more time. And the second time, if you'd like to, you can adjust your heels. Go ahead and sit back up. And then if you want, you can bring your heels closer to you or farther away. Inhale to grow tall and exhale to fold forward. Continue to breathe. I'm going to mess with something on my computer real quick. All right, we'll go ahead and bring the left leg in to your hip and extend the right leg out to the side. On an inhale, we'll lift the left arm up, and on an exhale, reach the left arm toward the right toes. They may not arrive all the way at the right toes, but just move them towards the right toes. Again, we're getting that nice stretch through the left side. On your next inhale, sit back up. And now we'll bring the right leg in towards your sitting bones and extend the left leg straight out to the left. On an inhale, we'll bring the right arm up. And on an exhale, we'll bring that right arm toward the left foot. And again, it doesn't need to arrive with the left foot, it's just moving in that direction. And inhale, come back up. Good. We're going to make our way onto our back with our legs bent. If you'd like to squeeze in a little ab work, you can extend your hands straight out in front of you and slowly come down one vertebrae at a time. Good. And here, I guess before we get too settled, you might want to make sure that you've got your folding chair behind you if you're going to use it for the plow. Otherwise, you can bring your legs straight up in front of you and we'll put the folded blanket under the hips. We're not doing that just yet. I just want you to go ahead and get your chair set up if it's not already set up. And then we'll prepare for bridge pose. So we want to bring the bent legs so that your heels are able to just be brushed by your toes, laying on your back, knees bent. Then we're going to go ahead and interlace the hands and bring them straight up. Take a breath. And then on an inhale, we're going to lift the hips and bring the arms straight back. Of course, my chair is in the way, so I'm going to scoot forward. Lift the hips up, bring the arms straight back until your hands are on the floor or as close as they can be. Press into your feet, lift the hips. And then on an exhale, lower the hips and bring the hands, again, interlaced so that they're straight up toward the ceiling. Then we'll inhale, bring the hands back and lift the hips. And exhale, lower the hips. Bring the hands so that they're facing the ceiling. Inhale, lift the hips. Bring your hands straight back, allowing them to come all the way to the ground if they can reach. And exhale, lowering. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, lift the hips, bring the hands back. And exhale, lower the hips. Bring the hands straight up. Good. And release the hands. Before we move into our plow, we'll do a quick twist. So we'll bring the legs at a 90-degree angle and allow the legs to fall to the right. I'm going to try to keep the left shoulder glued to the ground. If you want to put your folded blanket underneath your right leg, you can. It's more important to keep that left shoulder on the ground than it is for your right knee to hit the ground. So you can always use a blanket or other support in these twists. And then we'll bring the knees back to center, keeping them bent at a 90-degree angle, and then allowing them to fall to the left. And you keep the left shoulder, or the right shoulder on the ground, and feel free to put something under your left knee for support. And bringing the knees back to center. You can bring your feet flat to the ground, and we're going to prepare for a variation of plow pose. I'll scoot myself a little bit farther back so my chair is not too far. So your first option is to roll your blanket up and set it underneath you. You want it just a little bit lower than your hips. And then you can bring your legs straight up. And if you'd like to, you can stay right there, and that can be your plow variation for today. If you'd like to, especially if you're already familiar with plow, you can bring your legs back and allow them to land on the chair behind you. If you're really familiar with plow and you've done it a lot and your feet reach the ground easily behind you, you can also do that, of course. You want to make sure you're not feeling any strain in your neck, so keep your neck elongated. Press into your arms that are down on the ground. And continue to breathe. Do one more breath. And then slowly lower your hips. If you've got that blanket underneath you, you can remove the blanket and bring your legs straight on the ground. So the legs are straight, and we're going to move into fish pose. So for fish pose, we're going to bring the shoulder blades together and lift your chest up toward the ceiling. Now everything else stays on the ground. Just got that upper back lifted. So by bringing the shoulder blades together and lifting the chest, creating some space under your upper back. And take a few breaths. If this is difficult for you, you can always roll up your blanket and place it underneath your upper back to support you in this fish pose. Good. And relax your shoulders. Allow your chest to come back down. And we're going to set up for our Shavasana resting pose for today. So if you're feeling any sensation in your lower back, you can roll up your blanket and place it underneath your knees and keep your legs extended. And if that's not quite enough, you can even bend your legs and allow your knees to fall together with your feet a little wider than shoulder width apart. If you're pregnant, you'll want to lie on your left side. Otherwise, if you can find a variation, lying on your back, and walk your shoulder blades together, just gently, not as much as they were in fish pose. And then allow the palms of your hands to face the ceiling. And allow yourself to come to stillness. You can allow your body to relax. Allow your mind to rest. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And we'll stay here for a few minutes. If it's difficult to sit in silence, I'd recommend going back to that 3-part breathing. It can be something for your mind to focus on, moving the breath in and out in those 3 parts. But if you'd like to, you can allow yourself a few minutes to just completely relax and let go. Now you can gently bring some movement to your fingers and your toes. Take a moment, hug your knees into your chest. And roll onto one side and use your hands to help you come up to a comfortable seated position. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I see now that I seem to be once again connected with my video, so I'm really sorry if you saw a delay on your end. I'll update my browser and see what else I can do to improve that for next time. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll look forward to sharing another practice with you next Saturday.